This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, so Rabbi, so we continue in our journey of the Menorah. Who has to light the Menorah? Who can light the Menorah? Do you need to be a Kohen Gadol? Do you need to be a Kohen? Do you need to be a Jew? Do you need to be? Could a robot light the Menorah? Well, says the Rambam in Hilchos Bias HaMikdash, Paraktes, V'chein hadlakas haneros k'sheira b'zorim. Wow. A zar can light the menorah. A zar is a non-kohen. Lefikach im heitev ha-kohen haneros, if the kohen cleaned out the candles, v'hitzia and lachutz, and he took it out, mutu a zar ladlikan. A zar could light it, no problem. You don't have to move it. Just light it. It's interesting, the Rambam in the Sefer HaMitzvah says, the 25th mitzvah, HaMitzvah HaChavei, he, Shenitztava HaKohanim Lahadlik Haneros Tamid L'fnei Hashem V'hu Amro Yisala Bo Yomayim Mechus L'Baruch Yisrael Yarachos Aaron Avonov V'zuhi Mitzvahs Hatovas Haneros, like the Rambam Shita is, Hatov and Halakha are the same. So here the Rambam saying the mitzvah is on the Kohanim. But I thought the Rambam said the mitzvah is on the, even a Zar could do it. So the simple answer would be, they're both true. A Zar could do it, but it's a mitzvah for the Kohanim to do it. If a Zar does it, it's kosher. There's a specific mitzvah for a Kohen to do it. However, what's very interesting is, there's a Gemara in Yuma. The Gemara in Yuma says, Hadlaka is not an avodah. Hadlakas HaMenorah is not one of the avodas. So the Rishonim, the Toisus Yishanim, there, look at number 17. Hadlakas lav avodahi. Why? Because anyway, you're not doing anything. It says, Beha'aloscha, that the fire goes up on its own. Shashal hebes oilam eleha. The going up, the flame goes up on its own. Aval ha sasas ha alisa ika ish gadol. Okay. Fractoisis. Aval temel Rabbi Yosef. Kivan that hadlaka lav avodahi. If hadlaka is not a menorah, is not an avodah, I'm incisive b'koyen. So then why in the pasuk in this week's parsha does it say koyen? The siv daber el aharon v'el banav. Now that's a misprint. It doesn't say v'el banav. It says daber el aharon. So Tazishanim is sort of up the creek without a pay. He says, I don't understand. If it's not an avodah, and a zar could do it, why does the pasuk say daber el aharon? And like you asked well, what was the nechama to Aaron that you're madlik the neiros? You're not madlik the neiros. Maybe you say it means meitiv. But he says, madlik u meitiv. And by the way, the Ritva asks the same question. The Ritva asks, Tmiya milsa daksiva aroin ubanav, daber aram abanu leimar ba'alosas neros, uksiva halos arnas haneros. Says the Ritva, it doesn't say they have to. It says, Beha'aloscha, when they do it. It's not an avodah that if a zar does it, he's chayiv misa. Meaning, let's say a zar jumps and he does it. It's good, it's fine. It's not the right thing, but he's allowed to do it. So in other words, the idea that we mentioned earlier, that it's a mitzvah for the kohen to do it, but if a zar does it, it's okay. Okay, so Rabbi Say, we're about to take a trip to an ancient shtetl. The name of the shtetl is Dvinsk. The city of Dvinsk was so small that if you're riding on a wagon and you started to say Ashrei, by the time you got up to Soymech Hashem L'chol HaNoiflim, you're already out of the city. There were two great Rabbanim, two great luminaries in Dvinsk. You had Rabbi Meir Simcha of Dvinsk, the Ar Sameach, the Meshach Chachma, and you had the Rogotchover. I believe the Rabbi Meir Simcha was the Rav of the Litvish community of Dvinsk, and the Rogotchover was the Rav of the Hasidish community in Dvinsk. By the way, it's such a small town. Such a small town. The Chiddush is they only had two Rabbanim. You know. But anyway, what's interesting is, on a number of these issues we're about to discuss, both Rav Meir Simcha and the Rogotchover, they both say the exact same thing. So regarding this issue of if a zar could light the menorah, then why does the Torah say daber el aharon? So Rav Meir Simcha says something very interesting. He says, if it means lighting the menorah, that Aaron had to light the menorah every day, then why does the pasuk say Vayas kein Aaron kasher tziva Hashem? Right? What's the next pasuk in Beha'aloscha? Vayas kein Aaron amu pnei menorah. What's the next pasuk? Vayas kein Aaron amu pnei menorah hel aneros kasher tziva Hashem Moshe. Azoi, if the mitzvah is that Aaron has to light it every day, so you can't write that yet. Let's wait until the end of Aaron's life and make sure he lights it every day. And then we could write, Vayas kein Aaron. How could you just record in the Torah for posterity, Vayas kein Aaron? Who said he did the job yet? So the Meshech Chochmah says something very interesting. He quotes Tosfos' question. Now, why would it say Aaron if anyone could do it? And he says like this, V'nir mishum d'tnan, A number 20 on the fourth line. It says in the Mishnah, "In Mechan Chenas Menorah El B'nei Shel Bein Arabayim." You can only inaugurate the menorah with the neros of the evening. And Rashi says in the name of the Medrash that Aaron was sad that the Mishkan was inaugurated through the Nesiim. So Hashem said, "No, yours is better." So you got to compare apples and apples. Imagine if Aaron said, "Oh, I wish I could have a chelek in the Nesiim." So Hashem says, Aaron, don't worry, I'll give you a fully paid vacation to, what's one thing I do with the other. Aaron wants a chelek in the Chanukah, in inauguration. That must be, if Hashem is giving him a chelek in the menorah, it means inaugurating the menorah. They're inaugurating the Mishkan, you're inaugurating the menorah. So who inaugurated the menorah? Who needs to inaugurate the menorah? To inaugurate the menorah the first time, Tziva Aaron lahalos el hadlik. Aaron was commanded to light. Aval l'doiro is ksiv yaroich oisei Aaron. When for all generations, Aaron the Kohen only has to be meitiv, doesn't have to be madlik. Yaroich, arranging. V'chein, when the Torah says Vayas kein Aaron, it's not going on. All it's going on is the very first lighting. But if the mitzvah of lighting the menorah was l'doros, Aaron had to do it, then we don't know he did it until his last day. In other words, the chiddush of the Rogotchover is that even though lighting the menorah is kasher b'zarim, but being mechanech the menorah, inaugurating the menorah was only kasher through a kohen. By the way, so now, that's another issue. Why? Why is lighting the menorah greater than inaugurating the rest of the Mishkan? So by the way, look in the number 21. Tzafnas Paneach. Who's the Tzafnas Paneach? Yeah, Rabbi Yosef Rosen, the Rogotchover. He says, at the end of the piece, that 8 lines down, V'ayim b'tosos yishanim yuma dav chav dan ma sheikshud ha'atziv v'ha'loitzchuch la'aron ulvanav ayin sham ach diyesh loimer kach dinei b'vor b'menachos da'alaka rishayna. Gemara Menachos says when they lit the menorah az nischancha ha'menorah, the menorah was inaugurated v'lezaboy davka koyin. For that you need a koyin, because to make the menorah into a kli shares you need a koyin. The same chiddush as Rabbi Meir Simcha. By the way, the Rogotchover advances the same argument in his Shalas Tshuvos. He says of a chiburi sham, look at number 22, uvechilak gemo, in Hilchos Matnas Naim Kasad the chinuch hamenorah lezehav tzarach koyin. To inaugurate the menorah, you need a koyin, and this would answer Tosfos Yishanim's kasha. Now, why does it say Beha'aloscha ta'aron? Because that was the inauguration of the menorah. That's answer number 1. In other words, we had a kasha. Why is Daber al Aaron v'haloischa saneros? It should say Daber al b'nei Yisrael v'haloischa saneros. The answer is it was specifically for the Chanukah of the menorah. Answer number 2 from the Rogotchover. According to the Rambam, where do we get the fire from? when you would light the Ner Ma'aravi, where would we get it from? Anytime. Whenever they would light the Ner Ma'aravi, it was lit from the Mizbeach. How about the other candles? From the Ner Ma'aravi. So the Rogotchover says another Chiddush. Avada Azar could light the Menorah, but that's only when the Ner Ma'aravi is burning. But if the Ner Ma'aravi is not burning, and you have to get a fire from the Mizbeach, Azar can't go to the Mizbeach. Azar is not allowed to go to the Mizbeach. So you need a Kohen. So Beha'aloscha Haneros is referring to the Ner Ma'aravi. Ner Ma'aravi, of course, you need a Kohen. The other Neros, Azar is also kosher. So that's another...
By the way, maybe you could say also that
Yeah.
he couldn't light, Aaron couldn't light the menorah until the Mizbeach was inaugurated by the Shiur. If he was going to light the Mizbeach
Oh,
the
that's...
first time,
No, that's true, but he wanted a chelik in inaugurating the Mizbeach.
that was greater than the first
Or he also wanted a share in that as well. Look in the number 23, in the Safnas Paneach, on the Rambam in Hilchos Chanukah. He writes, Hine madedayek Rabbeinu v'kasav hamaracha, Hine ayim b'taras kayanim, v'vorakach, after kam v'yom v'da'alaka shamanok sher bazar, zeh rak b'shar neiros, aval ner ma'aravi, tzarech davka kayin. Why? V'hatam yishon, goes Rabbeinu. The ner ma'aravi, you needed to light it from the Mizbeach. So of course you need a kohen. Heichan matzinu shazar karev lamizbeach. A zar can never go to the mizbeach.
Is there a constant fire at the Mizbeach?
Yes. Eish tamid to kar lamizbeach lo yichbeh. By the way, the Rogotchover says the same thing back in number 21. He says on the third line, after kai melandim and likon zar kosher. Ner Ma'aravi, you need a kohen because you light it from the Mizbeach.
But that's not entirely true, Rabbi. You could take a coin to get the light from the Mizbeach, hand over the light to the...
No, but once the kohen has the fire, so you could suggest easily that since the kohen, since it had to be lit from the Mizbeach, and the kohen had to go to the Mizbeach, maybe it was ma'akev that the kohen had to light it as well.
Give it to the Zor.
But the other Neros, once it was lit, it was okay. By the way, the Ar Sameach, now the Rabbi Meir Simcha V'Dvinsk wrote two Svarim. He wrote on Chumash the Meshech Chachma, and he wrote a commentary on the Rambam. He wrote the Ar Sameach on the Rambam. So, if number 25, he says something very interesting. The exact same thing as the Rogotchover. He says, "Mei oidi niskashti." I was always bothered. L'shitas Rabbeinu, according to the Rambam, Shemad Likin Aminar Baboiker Gamkein. You light the menorah in the morning. V'zeh hatavas haneros. Because it's going on the Rambam. He wrote a commentary on the Rambam. So, okay. V'hasha paisai. This raffle they made every morning. Mimeh dashem. Who would clean out? V'lai hamadlik. In other words, every morning they made raffles. Who would do different avodas? They didn't make a raffle. Who would light the menorah? Why? Because you don't need a kohen to light the menorah. And anything that a zar could do, loy ba'i pious, except for shchita. So here's the question: Hadik amar avia b'divrei yamim beis perek yud gimel u'menoras hazahav ba'erev ba'erev. It says there's somebody by the name of Aviha in Divrei Hayamim who writes that they preserve the service in the temple, that the Kohanim should light the menorah every evening. What do you mean he preserved the service in the temple, that the Kohanim should light the menorah every evening? Kohanim don't have to light the menorah. Anybody can light the menorah. So what is this Aviha saying? That they preserve the service of lighting the menorah in the evening. Ad shezachisi, until I was zoicha, that the shita of the Rambam is that the ner ma'aravi you need to light from the mizbeach ha'olah, and the ner ma'aravi they would light in the evening, from the time of Shimon Tzaddik on, and they could only light it in the evening. But even though you could use a zar, but the ner ma'aravi you would have to light from the Eish HaMizbeach, and a zar cannot approach the Mizbeach. Now it's interesting. The Ravid argues on the Rambam on all 3 points. The Ravid holds you don't light them there in the morning. The Ravid holds you can't use a zar. And the Ravid also holds you don't have to light it from the Mizbeach. And our Sameach says all of these 3 shitas go together.
Does the Ravid agree that the first time that...
1 second. How do these 3 shitas go together? The Rambam says a zar could light the menorah. So the question is, if the Rambam holds a zar could light the menorah, what does it mean, daber al aron? Must be that the fire has to come from the Mizbeach. If it must come from the Mizbeach, then there must be a hadlaka in the morning as well. 1 second. But the Ravid who holds that in other words, we want to know what forces the Rambam to say that the Eish of the Menorah has to come from the Mizbeach. What forces him to say that is since the Rambam holds it's Kshera Bizarre. So Kshera Bizarre, then why does it say Daber al Aron? It must be because you need fire from the Mizbeach. You need fire from the Mizbeach, there must be a lighting in the morning as well. But the Ravid holds, it's not Kshera Bizarre. So it's not Kshera Bizarre, then you have no reason to say that it came from the Mizbeach. And there's no reason to say that there's a lighting in the morning.
But that's the whole issue. We said that Beha'aloscha refers to the first time only.
This is a different approach. This is a different approach. Okay, one last issue. When they inaugurated the Menorah, when did they inaugurate the Menorah? During the daytime or during the nighttime? Now, normally you could only it says b'yom by the building of the Beis Hamikdash. You could only inaugurate the You could only inaugurate the Beis Hamikdash during the day. So, could you inaugurate the Menorah at night? So interesting, the Rogotchover, in number 26, he says, no, you can't inaugurate it at night. At the time you need to inaugurate the Menorah, that would have to be during the day. Kamay binyan hamikdash, kamavor b'shvuos, dab tes vavam beis. V'chinuch kohanim, kamavor b'taras kohanim. Huva b'divrei Rabbeinu. Tzarach dafka b'yom hu adin chinuch hamenorah. Just like you need to inaugurate the Beis Hamikdash during the day, you can only inaugurate the Menorah during the day. But what's interesting is there's a Sefer Gura Arya Yehuda from the son of Rabbi Menachem Zemba. Unfortunately, Rabbi Menachem Zemba lost his son, and this was a Sefer written sort of in memory of his son. But his son writes that he heard a chiddush from Rabbi Menachem Zemba that the inauguration of any kli is at the time of the avodah of that kli. Since the menorah, the avodah of the menorah was belayla, so the menorah was able to be inaugurated at night as well. He says, "Yinei b'davar zeh shamati may avi adoni Meir v'Rabbi shlita lahar lefi divrei Rambam that we only are marbe kohen gadol b'yoyim." And the Kesef Mishnah says the reason is we learn in the Sifri we only do Mashiach in the day, and therefore you only make a kohen gadol during the day. The Sifri in Parshas Nasai quotes a pasuk b'yom hi mashach oisai that we only do Mashiach during the day. So the Zayis Ra'anan of the Magen Avram says it's going on all the kelim that you only do Mashiach during the day, because for the Mishkan itself you don't need a pasuk. So the Rambam, who learns out Shar Kiddushim from Mashiach, so it would come out you can only be mechanech during the day. So according to this, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says that the first night, when they had the new Menorah, and they needed to inaugurate it, they can't inaugurate it only during the day. So the Ravid, in his commentary to the Torah's Koyanim, says the halacha that ein hakamas hamishkan ksher el b'yom, because ein binyan hamikdash el b'yom, that's only you can inaugurate for the avodas hayom. You need hakama b'yom. But for the avodas halayla, for example, the Chumash Hadesh and Aktar Seimurim, so you could be making it at night. And he proved it from the Yushalmi that says that Zoisoi Meres, that Hakamas Halayla passes the Mishkan for Avodas Hayam. But for Avodas Halayla, it's kosher. So according to this, you could say that for being mechanech the kelim for avodas hayom, you need meshicha. In other words, to be mechanech the kelim for avodas hayom, you need meshicha and chinuch hayom. But for avodas halayla, it's enough to be mechanech it at night. So that's the chiddush of Rav Nachum Zemba, that for the first night they used the menorah, they were able to be mechanech it at night, because chinuch of the night helps for the avodah she b'layla. Okay, Rabbi Say. Hold it over here. Have a wonderful, terrific day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.